Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Welcome to the September 17th, 2025 meeting of the Police and Fire Commission. First item on the agenda is call to order. The next item, or the second item, is Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The third item on the agenda, 3A, is the approval of the August 20th, 2025 Police and Fire Commission minutes. We'll accept a motion to, well, first, are there any questions about the minutes? Any edits, changes? No?
Move approval as presented of the minutes from August 20.
No, second. Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. All right, the motion carries. The minutes are approved. Item number 4 on the agenda, public appearances for non-agenda items. We have no one here from the public.
Well, I would just like to make one statement. Today is Constitution Day. On this date in 1787, the Constitution was signed by a group of men at Independence Mall in Philadelphia, where I'm from. So just wanted to recognize that day today.
Thank you, Commissioner Wheeler, for that historical moment. Okay, so seeing that there are no public appearances, we will or other public appearances, we will move to item 5A, and this is a proposal submitted by Commissioner Wheeler. So Commissioner Wheeler, I will recognize you to speak to this proposal.
Yes. When it comes to promotion, I think since we are the hiring authority and also promotion and firing, I think it comes a time where we have to have all the information in front of us, and we need to basically make decisions based on all of the available information up to and including interviewing people that comes before this body for promotion. During the last process, that did not happen. We got all the information the day of that we were going to make a decision, and I personally didn't think it was enough time to digest that information, have that person in front of us, and so that we can ask questions, see how the person responded to questions, and then ask additional questions. I did have some conversations. In fact, I think even the chief said that probably people sergeant and above should come before the PFC for promotion interviews. I don't think it needs to be sergeant or even maybe lieutenant, but I do have a strong feeling. I think that captain and above, since we are talking about that captain level, is management, and they lead department, they bring vision and also direction to the department, that we should have more information on that candidate. So that's the way I would like to open it up. I don't know if we need to ask Sarah to come up with a process for that to happen. I mean, one thing I don't want it to become so burdensome on us, you know, because we do have full-time jobs and everything else like that. But I do think we need to add an extra step in there to where we are looking at information prior to actually making a decision and then bringing that person in for a personal interview. So I'll just leave it at that right now and welcome any comments, say yay, nay, or whatever.
If you would, Commissioner Wheeler, how would you wrap this into a motion? What would you like to?
I would move that we authorize Sarah Olson, HR, to come up with a process which would include an interview with the Police and Fire Commission before a promotion is made from captain and above. So put it that way.
Okay, it's been moved, or a motion has been submitted by Commissioner Wheeler. Is there a second?
A second.
Discussion?
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
So equal for the fire department?
Yes.
So do
For
you,
management, so
Right.
with
with the difference in rank structure, do you want to like identify it as tier? Like third tier and up, second tier and up, based on the different position descriptions?
I would have to have more information on that.
Yeah, like so deputy chief, captain, lieutenant, you know, you just look at those in tiers, you know, so deputy chief would be the second tier, captain would be the third tier. That way, or we could just identify it by position title as well.
I think that would need to be more discussed.
If you want that for the fire department too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't I make the motion that instead of talking about captain and above, that we have Sarah Olson, our HR director, come up with a process that includes an interview for, I don't know how to say it, that would include the fire department tier, but for promotions, let's just
What
say.
is a command at the command level
Executive level.
or executive level? Fire.
Yeah.
and police.
That would be,
Yeah, I was just trying to make it generically fit both sides and then plan for change too.
so for police, the executive level, would you say that'd be captain?
Be captain and above. My only question is this gonna be an interview from the PFC standpoint on whatever the chief's, whether it's fire, police chief's recommendation would be?
Yes.
So that person who's being presented for that promotion, they would get a series of questions from the PFC standpoint.
Correct.
All right.
That's the way I was thinking. I don't know if anybody else said it.
And currently, me being new, you only interview the chief position right now?
Yes.
Could it happen at the same meeting? Do you see a interview and an approval at the same meeting, or would it be interview
Like a special meeting.
or a special meeting?
Yeah, I think we would have to have a special meeting, because I still think it would need to be a time to digest all the information that we have, and I think it's just making a good decision, and not a quick decision, you know, so I would still like to have that time.
So would you, I don't necessarily have any issue with having the PSC involved in those recommendations. My only question is would, aside from an interview, would getting the information on who's being recommended by the department ahead of time be something that, instead of like a full-blown interview, could be provided by the department heads at that point?
Not for me personally, because I would like to have an opportunity to
interact.
The way I would do it, I would look at the information, I would formulate my questions.
Sure.
And then, you know, I would have probably thinking ahead, additional questions depending on how they would be answered. And then I would like to have the opportunity then to bring that person in. I just think it's too quick to go from information decision right away, you know. So I think we need to really think about it. And my feelings with the PFC, since we are the hiring authority and promotion, who you hire is the direction of the department. Who you promote is the direction of the department. And, you know, that's just from my experience, so that's why I'm really a stickler for that. And when we're talking the police culture, I think we need to be really careful and have a really detailed discussion about who we promote, who we hire, especially when it comes to that executive level.
Any further discussion? So the motion on the table, so I understand it, is that we're asking Sarah to present us with a process proposal, what that might look like for future action at a future meeting.
Correct. For executive level.
For what you said, but yeah, we're not agreeing to make that our new process. We're saying, we're directing Sarah to research and develop a proposal that we'll consider around that idea.
Correct.
At the next meeting.
Is this beyond the chief's?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. This would be like captain and above, executive level.
What's your rationale for wanting to do that?
Because I think we just need more information and more time to digest information when we're making decisions about executive level people in the organization. To the fact that I do believe that who you promote hire basically involves the culture of the department. And, you know, and I can tell you from my own personal experience, you know, you can see the culture change with leadership. And if you want a culture to be consistent, I think we need to really look at people, make sure that culture stays consistent to what the community has established. And I think you need to really ask deep questions and looking at that information.
What if we proposed a chief or whatever for a different culture to make it a different culture that already exists, because we thought as the PFC it would be better to bring in this newer person for that, so making that culture the same may not necessarily constitute the culture that the new person is bringing in. And I'm thinking that's making us a little more hands-on and involved than what we initially was set for, which was those chief roles.
Well, I mean, I think that's something that can be discussed, but I think we find that out, even if we wanted a culture change for whatever reason. I think, you know, still having that information that we interview and we have all the information and actually digest that information, then we can discuss where we want the direction of the department, because we represent the community.
What do we know about the culture now in both of those organizations enough to say this is going to make it stay the same or this is going to make it different? I think our current involvement is not so intrinsic inside the culture of the two organizations for us to say, well, we want to be that involved in it, and we are not really in there now to know. If we were involved, I probably would go, oh yeah, we do, and we know this and that. Do we know enough about that culture, or are we entrusting enough to the current chiefs in their organization to funnel down what they think that culture ought to be?
And I think, well, not to interrupt, I think what we discussed earlier was this process would add in an interview with whom the chief is actually recommending for that promotion. So the chief would still have that ability to know the culture, know that work ethic, know who the candidates were involved in that promotional process, offer that person, whomever they think is qualified to maintain a positive culture, maintain the expectations of the community, the PFC, offer that person, just so the PFC can have the opportunity to have a discussion with the person being presented and you know, seek some further information about their qualifications, who they are as a person, to get that fit. Not to necessarily say, here's A, here's B, now make the decision. It's still the chief offering up that person for promotion.
And the culture does come out, and, you know, I'll just say this, the culture does come out from the community. I mean, I'm in the community, and I talk to officers, and basically I think we can hear things from the community, and we can hold the chief accountable to make sure that he's keeping up with community standards. I mean, the mayor's out in the community, the alders are out in the community also. And I mean, I think we would get enough information, and, you know, and I understand what you're saying, you know, with the chief, but, you know, just like, you know, Ron Ware said, trust but verify, too. And I just think that that's our responsibility.
In the realm, if that's your normal control, trust and verify. If that's part of your regular procedure to do so, certainly trust and verify. You know, we use that, you know, an audit environment, the many years I was doing that, is to trust what they're saying but verify it. But in that realm, could we actually verify? You know, our trust is from that selection that we made for police chief, fire chief. If we trust that, the verified portion, how can we? In this, you know.
And I think that comes from the interview. Okay. I mean, you can ask some very good questions in an interview about, you know, their feelings about the community, what they have done in the past with the community, and, you know, I think it's possible. I think we can get more information before we make decisions.
But look, I want to make sure that we're clear in terms of the objective here in light of what I've heard. What the concern I have is that what we're not presenting is an opportunity for overreach. So if the chief has already made a decision of who he wants to make the offer to, we're coming behind that with an opportunity to review, to just add another level of assessment to the candidate that is most likely, or the candidate that's being targeted for the position, right? We're not trying to make a staffing decision for management or for the chiefs, right? Because to me, if I'm correct, that may be overreach. To make a decision or to counter the chief's decision, we may bring some things to light that came out of the interview, but at the end of the day, it's still the chief's responsibility to make the hire or not make the hire.
No, it's our responsibility. That's why we vote.
For executive level, that's what we're asking for here, to make the decision for executive level, the hire-fire decision.
Yes. Interesting. That's why we voted on the captain.
I think that is our charge, Brian, but I think the chiefs, we are ratifying the chief's recommendation. We are not,
or not in
charge, or not, yes.
Okay.
But based on that information we're getting directly from the chief, to me, that would be the verified piece. Chief's recommending this, we trust him. We also have questions for chief. That's our verification piece. I'm with you though, I don't know if we want to be then saying, well, in the interview we heard XYZ, so we're not approving of that candidate. Yeah. Is that the overreach piece?
No, I think what he's saying is, instead of this person that he's recommending, we're gonna select this person. I think that's the overreach.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and that's how it always has been. Okay. It's just adding in, I think, the interview from the PFC standpoint, just to hear the person talk instead of never seeing that person at a PFC interview.
And to having more time to review that package with all their qualification and then the check that you guys do. Because we had such a short period of time to just review it, and that's the first time it's handed to us. So even having, that would include part of the process is having that information prior to coming into this meeting. Because we were just kind of like scanning through this, and we were definitely needing more time, I believe.
So really it's just adding the same interview opportunity for, in my case, deputy chief and battalion chief. That's 2 levels below me, or whatever, however deep you want to go. It's really just adding that same option of that interview. No different format, right?
Correct. It would just be, chief would come to, or a decision, some sort of recommendation would be made based upon the meeting the minimum qualifications, having done the panel interview with outside people, community members, outside law enforcement, then the chief interview, then an assessment of their qualifications, what they've done in the department. That's what the chief and the department compiled together already. Then present that information as a recommendation. And you get that information ahead of time. And obviously Sarah can verify all of this stuff. You would get that information ahead of time, be able to digest it, then schedule another interview with that person who's being recommended for promotion, have that discussion, and then another meeting after that to verify, to say yes, yay or nay to that person being promoted.
And let me give you, and I feel fine in giving this as an example. As police departments, you know, people said they became more militaristic. Okay, that's culture. Okay, so if I get a person in here, and the only thing this person want to talk about, I've been in the Army, I was a sniper, you know, I really like all this SWAT type stuff, I want to be a dog handler, and he doesn't talk about the community, that person's going to have a hard time getting past me. And that's what I mean about culture. And sometimes you got to listen very carefully for that. I mean, I heard it, I had my experience. I was a deputy SWAT commander where I had somebody who wanted to get on the SWAT team, and that's all he talked about. And I'm like, that's not the person that I think is going to be a good community person, you know, in the community, and spreading that we are part of the community. We're not just militaristic where we just want to go out, make arrests, and just bring people to jail. And I think, like I said, in my experience, you can detect that. Asking the right questions, looking at the information. And those are the things that I talk about when I talk about culture, because it slips in very easily through training, through what people say, and I've seen it happen. And that's why I'm like really adamant about that. I want to have all the information in front of me because I want the culture to be a community-led policing, community policing. And I don't want, you know, the people all of a sudden think I'm just going to get on the department. I'm just going to be John Wayne out there and everything else. And that starts with leadership. And it starts, you know, actually it starts with sergeant, but I'm willing to go, let's say at executive level, make sure that the culture stays the same with the way we want the department to be led by people who are really invested in the community.
I say that's very commendable, and I would have hoped and believed we would have done that and thought that with the chiefs that we were presenting and that we interviewed, that that's the culture that they would do within their organization, and they would keep that going throughout their organization, and that level in between, whatever that is, the chiefs, you know, are looking to make sure they are filling those positions with those like-minded people. And then what we're doing is, you know, already entrusting what we already put in place with those two chief roles. I just think I would love to have that what you're saying, but, you know, how do you do it to do that? And then how do you know, say, chief, you know, we put you here, we interviewed you, we feel like you're the right person, but we need to go in there and see exactly what you're doing for this hiring beyond, and we need to talk to them beyond just saying, here's what we presented, here's the background that we have. You know, yes, give us that information ahead of time, and then we could pose those questions to those chiefs. Did you make sure the person has this thought? Was this person, you know, more militant? How do you think that person is gonna work throughout your organization? You know, have the chief, you know, show more on why that those persons or one person is that contact and this is what we need. I just, you know, thinking that with the overreach term that it may actually be a little more overreach.
Well,
and to the level that it sounds a little, I don't want to say untrusting, I don't think that's even a word, but it just seems like when you said it starts at the top, what we were doing as Police and Fire Commission with these chief positions. And that's why we were involved. That's why we went through the process of the rating. We did the process of the interview. We included, you know, people in their areas. We included people from union staff, different levels, to make sure that's the person that's gonna do this for Fitchburg. And then when they come in and they're making decisions, and good for them that they are able to make some changes in those higher positions, because sometimes the people are still there and don't move. You know, it's a, you know, a blessing too when you can kind of train that next person the way you would like them to be. So, you know, I just think it is a little more toward the overreach in a way, and it's also a little bit of adding additional layers to them and a possible delay in getting those people in place, because here's this other step on this side. And, you know, who's really vetted us to say we know what the police and fire need? We have this in mind. We join this commission because we have this thought in mind, but you have experience in certain areas, so you certainly bring a different light than I do as a regular citizen and just a working person. But what I might know, and people interview well, and then they get right on those jobs and they don't necessarily do that. So you have to give a little bit to the gut, to the instinct, to the experience that those chiefs already have, and whatever HR mechanisms they have to make sure they're in place. And certainly if we can look at it, and if we have heard or find out, then hey, here's some information I have about this, but we gotta make sure we're not interfering and delaying their process and them moving forward for the community as well. So this is, you know, I'm a little bit, you know.
Well, and that could be, and you know, the thing I would say to that is the chief doesn't have a rubber stamp, and that we should not give the impression to the chief that we are a rubber stamp, that we're just gonna look at you and say, whatever you bring to us, we're just gonna approve. Like I said, I think when you look at the PFC, by state law, the PFC has been created, want to keep politics out of policing. The mayor can't kick us off the PFC. The mayor doesn't have a say in hiring or firing of a chief. It's up to us. That's how serious I think that the state has taken this by legislation. And I think, you know, by saying that, yeah, I trust the chief. Yeah, I hope that he's going to bring people forward that I'm going to agree with. But the last candidate he brought forward, it was a 3-2 vote. So it could have been 5-0 vote, it could have been 4-1 if we have more information.
Do you think that 3-2 vote would have changed if we actually interviewed that person? Or was it based on the information we received that we got from the chief, we were able to even vote that way?
For me, it could have made a difference if I had more information. So it could be a benefit to the candidate too, not necessarily just a negative. Could have been to that person's benefit. But I just didn't want to make a decision based on this whole thing. I get the packet, all of a sudden, let's make a decision. And I had a few questions that I wanted to ask this person.
Definitely some advance with the information that's being provided, but necessarily, you know, I guess we could have some orientations and learn a little bit more what it means for fire and police in these certain roles. So when we're looking at that, we have a better thought to make assessments based on that versus, you know, just that, you know, one interview and we just, oh, this person sounds this way or seems that way.
And it is not necessarily even getting into police operations, to be honest with you. But when I look at someone who's in that executive level, I'm looking for vision. Someone who's looking at that bigger picture and where they're gonna, how they lead, where they're gonna lead the department to, how they're gonna treat their individual people under their command. That doesn't necessarily mean that everybody gotta know police operations. I mean, I think we've all been in some type of leadership positions where you don't necessarily have to know every single job that everyone under your leadership does. But you know,
definitely want my fire people to have known what to do. Police, that's quite interesting you say that, because at those levels, you do want that experience in those roles to do that, and then you might have this people culture, HR development type role person that we may not get to this level because they're still, training on, how to interact with people, how to make sure you're, handling, people with mental illnesses and things like that. That may be different, but tactical things are necessary in those top levels in both police and fire that I would think that I could not, being in leadership roles previously, come in and be that role on the police and fire. I wouldn't even apply for it. And it may be, maybe I'm not confident about myself and my leadership skills. It's just, some of that is in managing people who all are already uniquely strong because they're strong enough to do those roles. Because I'm gonna be out here and I've gotta deal with this different personalities, I've gotta deal with these scenarios, I gotta deal with emergent things that need to happen right now. That's a different skill set of someone to say, well, let me manage, your schedule, let me manage, how do you treat your fellow coworker and those kinds of things. Nice and important, but that role seems like it's part of the organization, but not necessarily, the second and third person from the chief sometimes. If you're a smaller organization, you might not have it. When you're, bigger, you got levels of people that helps with that. Here are some things, let's have these huddles, at the beginning of the shift to make sure everybody feel warm and fuzzy, but get out there and handle what's real outside these walls. That's just kind of.
Yeah, I think I'm not thinking about the tactical part of it. I mean, that's something that the chiefs, they should know about that. That's not what I'm saying. I just think when you get to the executive level, and I'll give you an example with the chief and the deputy chiefs are doing right now. I mean, when you're talking about a growing organization, okay, that's different than tactical. I'm talking about building an organization. We're a growing city, we're a growing department, and we got to have the right people within those management roles. One, not just to say tactically, I want to build people up, but as far as being managers, I mean, we got to build people up from the ground up.
Yeah, I was speaking to the point where you said they didn't have to have police or fire, where I think you just specifically said police experience. Right. So that tactical, to me, has to be part of it, but I don't necessarily disagree with that. So.
Yeah, I'm not talking about it. I mean, that's for the deputy chief, that's for chiefs, Sarver to bring before us. I mean, hopefully they're bringing us people who are, tactically sound and actually know the job of policing that they, or firefighting that they learned in the academy and was able to grow into those positions. But when I'm talking executive level stuff, I'm talking more about building the organization itself.
Okay. So, go ahead.
So we've had you've had a pretty robust process.
Well, I'm glad we're able to talk. I know.
Are we ready to vote?
Yeah.
You could say that 5 minutes ago.
Do we need a vote or a motion? The motion's on the table. We had to direct Sarah to do that.
Request to discuss the materials.
Well, a motion was put on the table.
Yeah, motion was put on the table.
And I thought it was properly second.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we've had the discussion, and so now we need to have the vote. So all those in favor of the motion that's on the table right now.
Are we able to restate it?
It was having directed Sarah to propose a research process in which the PFC, this body, would have an interview and assessment of the candidate that the police or fire chief presented for
So
promotion.
this is just
for
the
those
process
executives.
of that
Yes.
and not that in
It's not,
itself.
yeah.
Okay.
It's just to research that
Okay.
process.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries.
I know I can say no.
Motion carries. All right.
See, the other meeting, you wanted me to start saying something, and I was just saying I second. And then you asked for it. And it's only when I feel like it's necessary. See?
All right.
Be careful what you ask for.
Moving along here. Next item on the agenda, 6A, staffing report from the fire department.
All right. I definitely think that conversation was proof that you're not a rubber stamp.
Yeah.
You guys care. That's awesome. So, all right. So we'll talk about my activity report. August, we actually ran less calls than we did last year. And you'll see that kind of broken down into those most common call types. We do a great job in this city preventing car accidents. We just have a lot of really good drivers. I mean, these number of car wrecks, if you see that, is great with a city of this size. So good stuff. Also, from 2023 to 2024, we've reduced our false alarms by 36%, which is a really big deal. So you see we're still climbing in the number of calls representative of our growth in our city, right? But again, we're really working hard on those false alarms, getting those systems working the way they should be. We just transitioned into a new inspection period, so a little slower getting the jump on that. So just 14 inspections last month. We had our chief lunch, which I think I notified you folks about. He retired. We had a little party for him on Saturday. Great guy, and him and his wife are getting ready to go on a 2-month road trip, Route 66 up the coast, all that stuff. So he's a great guy. I think it was 45 years in fire and EMS. So great guy. He'll be a big loss, but he just lives 2 blocks away from the station. So we'll go bug him as much as we can. So that's one update that you'll see next month. That POX chief will be down to 0, but we have 2 different processes out for POX folks, one for battalion chiefs and one for firefighters. So we're getting applications in. We do have a lot of interest, especially at the chief level. So that's really good news, and we'll proceed with that process. I think towards the early part of October. The applications are due on the 29th. So looking forward to that. And then we're going to talk about the career firefighter process. I've completed all those interviews, and I have a recommendation for you. And then we'll also establish a list that we can talk about. Overtime. So less than last month, but we are at our overtime budget limit as of this month. So we're working on some creative ways. Our POX hours are down. So when you really look at that, staffing, those budgets kind of complement each other. So we are down on the POX side, but up on the overtime side. So we're going to watch that really closely and just make sure we can try and balance that out.
Is that a concern of yours? You're still new, so you can kind of blame the last regime for all of this, but what do you see from the outside looking in when you see overtime like that, in a month?
So we did have that injury to one of our interns, which requires that seat to be filled, and oftentimes that may be by overtime. So we did have that. We had an additional injury, and then apparently prior to me getting here, we had a couple of FMLA leaves. So I think that had an impact, but overall, those are pretty small numbers for the big picture. There's some policy management that needs to take place prior to next year that I think will help with that. And again, we can talk about that in closed session too if you want, but I think that has something to do with it. And then I'm working on getting more POX staff as well, which is what we're trying to do right now.
So it's not a staffing issue?
Well, we allowed staffing. It's just getting the people, and obviously we're at training factory for some bigger fire departments. So we're still dealing with that. And that's not unique to Madison. It's the same way all over the country. But again, we have a really good reputation, and it does draw a lot of those folks to us, which I do think we get a benefit from. But reducing those fire alarms by 36% is outstanding. A lot of that credit goes to our fire marshal, Mark Malekish, who is doing an excellent job following up on some of those problematic systems and really helping our community business owners and property owners understand their systems, understand their requirements, and how to avoid problems. We definitely look at it as a partnership versus enforcement. We want everybody to be safe, and we want to help them maintain their systems efficiently.
Any other questions to the chief? All right, thank you, Chief. Next item on the agenda, 6B, is closed session. I will take us into closed session. Pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 1, subsection C, Wisconsin statutes, the commission Okay, we're back in open session. Are there any actions to be taken based on our discussion in closed session?
I will move that we accept Chief Sarver's recommendation and extend a conditional offer of employment for the position of career firefighter. Commissioner Baxter has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been properly seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other action to be taken?
I make a motion giving the chief approval to create an eligibility list for career firefighter.
Commissioner Wheeler has made a motion. Is there a second to his motion?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, 7A, staffing reports from the police department.
All right. So if you take a look at the staffing report for September 17th, 2025, the staffing numbers look a little deceiving because of the change that recently got approved by the city council for our reorganization. Our totals currently are 55, but it's actually going to drop down to 54 because we are taking our three of those 4 vacancies and we're turning those into our detective sergeant and our evening lieutenant position, which we'll talk about later today. So we're going to have a sworn staffing level of 54 moving forward. So that's one of the changes. Obviously, that comes at a sacrifice of 3 police officer positions, but we felt as if it was the most important for a police department to insert those levels of supervision and management within our department, especially on the hours where command chief are not there Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we needed to insert those, create some efficiencies within the department. In addition, we are going to be eliminating our dispatch services for the police department. We're eyeing up a specific date of potentially October 13th where that will take effect. We're going to be doing a series of interviews for support specialist positions. 2 of our dispatchers, dispatch positions will be laid off as part of this reorganization, and hopefully whomever does end up getting laid off because they're not selected for one of the new support specialist positions, that they have already kind of indicated that they're seeking other employment elsewhere, and that those opportunities will present themselves for those particular employees. Any questions on the reorganization? Happy to text.
So just to be clear, we're actually reducing our sworn staff.
We are
by
reducing
one.
our sworn staffing by one. This is hopefully just going to be a temporary reduction in our staffing levels because it's not going to impact what we're going to be asking for in the future. Even as early as 2026, we're gonna ask for additional lieutenant positions in the hopes that we get a shift lieutenant on every shift, not just the one that we're getting through this reorg. Additional officers, we still have the COPS grant available to us. However, that's gonna come at a significant cost to the city, so that will have to obviously be worked through other means. And we still have until 2028 to address the COPS grant. So with this reorg, we also have our social worker is now full-time with the police department, not splitting time with the senior center. So that's gonna be a big boost for the police department as well. And one of the support specialist positions is going to be our property and evidence manager. So we're gonna have somebody down in our property and evidence room full-time to be able to work through processing evidence, purging evidence that the police department no longer needs. Hopefully we can get our current evidence that we currently have in a really good place, so whenever we do move over to the new building, it's not this massive amount of evidence that we're currently retaining. So that position will go through all the proper training. We have 2 sergeants that are excellent with our evidence room right now, and they'll be able to provide all that those trainings and that information to that new person. So that's exciting for the police department. So we don't have to take officers off the road to be down in evidence to try to go through all that property. Any questions on the staffing report? 1 in field training, and that officer will be off field training very soon. So that's also exciting for the police department as well. Going into the monthly report, nothing super significant to report from our numbers. There was a discussion regarding our, even though our traffic stops are significantly higher than they had been previously, our traffic crashes didn't seem to drop as significant. But I think, and most of the time we tried to focus our traffic assignments on those areas of the city where traffic crashes are occurring most frequently. However, due to the uptick in traffic and the road construction in the Syene area, we did a heavy focus in that area this year specifically because of the proximity to the school, how densely populated in that particular area is. There was a lot of, if anybody goes on 14 and tries to take the Lacey Road exit at about 7:40 in the morning, they'll be sitting there for probably 5 to 10 minutes just with the amount of traffic that's coming across there, going from the school to the neighborhood and vice versa. So we paid extra attention to that particular area because we wanted people to maintain safe speeds in that area. So we really concentrated heavily on there, and hopefully now with Syene projects starting to wind down, we're able to spread our resources to other parts of the city. Not only that, but we also have suspended, for the first 3 weeks of school, we've suspended our briefings so we can get officers out on the road into the school zones, both in the morning and during our second shift, as well as some of our bus stop locations, so we can try to prevent any disturbances coming from the bus stops from school or from kids getting off in the afternoon. So, any other questions on some of the numbers or the monthly summary from August 2025?
The OWIs, have we determined where they're coming from? Like, is there a specific bar or something that they're?
So as far as, there's nothing that's giving us any indication of where they're particularly, there's, there's not a ton of bars open super late in Fitchburg anymore. To be honest with you, I don't think we've looked at what their last place that they have consumed alcohol, whether or not they're just driving through the city. I know that we can take a look at officer reports to kind of identify if there is a particular problem bar that may be over serving or those types of things, but nothing that's popped up on our radar to give us any concern.
What's your thought around theft of auto?
Theft of auto?
Of auto.
Yeah, there's a significant decrease
okay.
That we've seen, especially over the last couple of years. And what we have hypothesized in the past is once like the group of juveniles that were really focusing in on like the Kia boys and those automobiles being stolen is prevent those thefts from occurring. That's my assumption is the juveniles have been arrested and the juvenile justice system is doing what they need to do and is holding the kids accountable.
Any other questions for the Deputy Chief? All right, hearing none, we'll keep it moving. Item 7B of the agenda, closed session. I will move us into closed session pursuant to section 19.85, subsection 1, subsection C, Wisconsin statutes. The commission will move into closed session for the purpose of considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. More specifically, to make conditional officers of employment for the position of police officer and to request to begin a detective sergeant and shift lieutenant promotional process. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or any discussion?
Anyway, you get some type of managing cases and all that other kind of stuff.
Okay, we're back into open session. Are there any actions to be taken on items discussed in closed session?
Yes. Motion to make 2 conditional offers of employment for the position of police officer.
Is there a second?
Second. I'm sorry.
Any discussion? So Commissioner Barr made the motion coming out of closed session. It's been properly seconded. There's no discussion. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All opposed? Say no. Okay, the motion carries. Any other action item?
I make a motion for the chief to begin a detective sergeant and shift lieutenant promotional process.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda, item 8, announcements. Are there any announcements? We'll
Well, Deputy Chief, if you would just take a moment and speak briefly on the groundbreaking.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Last week, we had our groundbreaking ceremony for the new police services facility. 10+ years in the making for that building to kind of finally come to fruition. It's an exciting chance for the police department, for the community, to get a state-of-the-art facility. It improves our ability to connect better with the community with much more space than we currently have. Specifically our community room gives the opportunities for the police department to grow well beyond our current staffing levels. It'll be an excellent facility for the safety of those that are in our custody, for the accountability of our evidence, which is paramount. It kind of moves us forward towards the potential of accreditation, which is always kind of that gold standard in law enforcement. And it's a great opportunity for the rest of the city staff to be able to start that process of renovating the existing police department in City Hall so that they have room to grow. Obviously, with all growing cities, there needs to be those foundational elements of it, and I think the new police department is going to be one that will last for quite some time. So it's exciting. Thank you for all that came and showed up, and we can't wait to see a building start going up soon.
Absolutely.
Good to get you guys out of the basement and actually build it with police on it.
I think there were citizens that were surprised to hear that the police department has always been in a basement.
Yeah.
Fitchburg.
Yeah, historically speaking.
No matter what building you're in the basement.
Yeah, so it's exciting.
Outstanding. Any other announcements? Last on the agenda, it's item 9, adjournment.
I move adjournment.
Any discussion? All in favor? Adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.